Now, modern gaming is something that most of us realized isn't exactly what it once was. We don't realize how good we had it back between the 2000s to 2015, I would say. That was peak gaming back then, when we would get back-to-back releases. This was when AAA gaming were locked in by putting out fantastic games with the AAA budget behind them to push graphical fidelity, technologies, and innovate in storytelling, gameplay design, mechanics, and then also games pushing the narrative scope of what gaming could be, an interactive medium, with games like Mass Effect from BioWare. Open world games being innovated upon with, amazing exploration like the older Bethesda games with Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 3, and Skyrim. But sadly, when we think about AAA games today, what we mostly get are games that are recycled, that have tired tropes, that are bloated, that are filled with micro slop, I would call it. And sadly, this is just the norm for modern day gaming. Because AAA studios are not just about creative vision anymore, as gaming is bigger than it's ever been. It's bigger than the movie industry, TV industry combined, okay? It's the biggest entertainment media on the planet. And of course, this has awoken the money-sucking vampires out there, the investors, the people that want to bleed gaming dry, sap out its creative vision to extract as much money and profit as possible.
Why don't you just take my blood?
Now, I am joined with my new co-creator friend AVV, so I welcome his audience to my channel. Thank you, and I do hope you enjoy the Savior Show. Subscribe if you're new, become a wise one today. We don't usually collaborate with any YouTubers, so this is a big deal for us. Both of our audiences are definitely interested in the same things. I cover RPGs, game reviews, but I look at it through a philosophical lens, much more analytical content, whereas he covers big conversations around games. So please do support us, subscribe to our channels, and give the video a like. And if you want extra content from me, just become a member today or support the channel in any way you can, and check out the music that I make on Spotify. Now back to the video.
So when we look back at the days of, the examples that I use are Bethesda, BioWare, studios of that ilk that were literally at the top. Ubisoft too, I'd say, with like Far Cry 3 and games like that. These guys were at the top in terms of reviews and the games they were making. They were absolutely the peak and the example for everybody. When you think about, the original Dragon Age Origins, Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3, Dragon Age 2, these games were doing incredibly well. With Bethesda, we got Oblivion, Fallout 3, Skyrim, and both these studios sort of maintained a strong relationship with their fan base as well. When you think about Bethesda, they were considered the industry darlings at the time because they always communicated with fans, they had a great relationship with them, everybody got along basically, they were generally loved. And when you think about the modding scene, like they were one of the first to do it, Bethesda. They were the first to open up that modding, and they supported modders as well, which was important. Like Fortnite has made billions, right? Free to play has made billions of dollars. And then you look at Skyrim, one of the all-time greats, and it's not even come close. So what ended up happening is Bethesda and BioWare, and Ubisoft for that matter, they shifted direction. So they thought, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to start trying to go online. So we got Elder Scrolls Online, peppered with microtransactions. Then we got Fallout 76, which was a disaster at launch. Again, online microtransactions. And then BioWare decided to make Anthem. So this period comes in with these studios that are known for making great open world single player experiences. They decide to pivot to making online games for obviously profit as the primary focus. And Anthem does really bad. It flops. Fallout 76 has a terrible launch where they literally fall out with their fan base. And it just all sort of goes this other direction. I think Ubisoft does plenty of online games too.
Now, as gaming became more and more popular over time, of course, industry standards changed. Technologies came in, Nvidia pushed out harder and harder graphics, and we're going to talk about them later, don't you worry, because they are a big reason as to why the fall of AAA gaming has taken place. But you have to understand that developers, artists, everyone working on games, okay, they need to share a unified vision. But as games got more and more popular, as technologies kept pushing the envelope further, more budget went into these games, so they had to innovate on things like graphical detail, how big the world is, how much technology goes into a game like this. And then investors would have to make sure that they are protected in the games that they invest in by making them much more checklist design, that they are following a blueprint of what makes popular games successful. This bled the creativity out of games and made everything a longer process to be made, much more copy and pasted style games. And then of course the fixation on hyperrealism and graphics only pushed gaming into a further hole where AAA games had to be cutting edge. They couldn't be smaller creative projects, and the teams just got bigger and bigger and bigger, more micromanagement, and live service games completely took over. This is the blueprint of how we got into this AAA gaming nightmare.
So during the time that they were working on online games for a different audience, right? So they're no longer making games for a single player open world audience. They're making online games. So Bethesda, BioWare, they're gone. They're doing other things at this point. And by the time they come back to it, in the meantime, other games have come out. So you think about who's come out during this time. The Witcher 3 arrives, completely changes gaming forever with its open world structure and side quest design. Cyberpunk. So CD Projekt Red are officially, like, they're the new Bethesda taking that spot. Then you got Warhorse with Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 and 2, which are exceptional titles. Now you've got Crimson Desert from Pearl Abyss. I mean, the list goes on, right? Like, there are so many games that have come out in this open world structure for single player games. But they've not just come in and matched Bethesda. They're not Fallout 4 or Skyrim again. They're actually better in some ways, right? Like, many would say Witcher 3 is a better game as far as writing, quest design, open world structure than Skyrim, and many would say Cyberpunk is better than Fallout 4. So you end up in a situation where they've sort of been usurped by other studios that are coming in and trying to put this effort in. Studios like Larian, CD Projekt Red, they start doing things for fans solely for the love of gaming, right? Like Witcher 3 gets a next gen update with new side quests added in for free, no cost. Cyberpunk gets new updates, new apartments, new add-ons, new features for free. Baldur's Gate 3 from Larian has had so many updates completely for free.
It's sad when we think about games that came out on the 360, on the PS2 or before. Games used to be about maximizing fun. It's very rare now that we see big studios, AAA studios, pushing new ideas forward. Luckily, some still do exist, like Capcom and what they have made recently with Pragmata. Games like Pragmata prove that AAA studios can still create tight, interesting new IPs and ideas on a lower budget scale. But this is a very rare thing in gaming. Most games that we love, the studios that we used to love, like BioWare, like Bethesda, like Blizzard, these big AAA studios now prioritize one thing, and that is money. This obsession of making games bigger and bigger, with more graphics, more things to do in them, games that, take 100+ hours to finish. This fixation on bigger, bloated games, okay, all stems from one problem. If we want to fix the disease, we have to follow and figure out the symptoms. And the first symptom is money. Now, as AVV pointed out, mods make a huge difference, okay? This is what happens when AAA studios and developers trust in their fans, they trust in the vision. It's the difference in not just Bethesda, but all AAA gaming. Skyrim is the perfect example of what happens to a game when there's love, creativity, and passion behind it. The people making it were all on the same wavelength. The people behind it were all on the same creative wavelength. They all wanted to create something unique. They added mechanics because of the love of the game to make players, find those secrets and go, wow. But now they optimize games to try and extract as much from the player as possible, and usually it's your wallet. So handcrafted games backed by the community, backed by professional and passionate developers were now a thing of the past, okay? You can forget games like Mass Effect, you can forget games like Skyrim. We're all heading now to that live service golden age. And this is where we enter the day and age of Fallout 76, Anthem, and AAA studios trying to capitalize on that live service model that could generate them more money. And that's what creativity is all about, right? Making money? That's what a lot of YouTubers might tell you, but they're fucking wrong. Now, AVV makes a great point, I would say, and that is now the games that we grew up with, that we loved back in the day, studios that produced amazing quality RPGs like Dragon Age, or the original creative vision of something like Assassin's Creed after like 10 plus Assassin's Creed games. Is it really interesting to most of us anymore? Is the Ubisoft world design actually imaginative, or is it simply a checklist copy and pasted formula? I think most people are tired of these AAA games, and luckily now there is a bit of hope, because AAA gaming can change, and that is because of these new studios, and that is thanks to these new studios that are now taking the place of older AAA gaming, and it's up to them to, make gaming better for the future.
All these studios are like communicating with their fans and building rapport. So they're doing things for free and they're supporting them, right? So this is all happening while Bethesda and BioWare are off, then other AAA studios, Blizzard, all these people are off trying to chase money. That's why they're doing online microtransactions. They want to get the money. Then BioWare drops Dragon Age the Veilguard. They do Mass Effect Andromeda and Dragon Age the Veilguard, which is clearly not. It was supposed to be Dragon Age the Veilguard, again, was supposed to be an online hero shooter sort of thing, right? Microtransactions. So that's why when you look at the characters, they're all cartoony, like they're all, like Fortnite looking characters. And then basically midway through production, they're like, oh, we need to flip it back. We need to go back to the way it was. We need to make it single player like the old ones. But it was so removed and the writing was so out of touch with their fan base that it just ended up being a mess. So you've got Dragon Age the Veilguard from BioWare, flops. Starfield, probably Bethesda's worst title, right? Bar 76. And then Ubisoft are pumping out games like nobody's business, right? Like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Valhalla, Shadows, another one in between. Like they're just dropping games like far too quick, watered down. So what you end up in this situation where you've got three studios underperforming with their delivery, right? So they were at the peak, and then they pivoted to go chase money and online microtransactions. Key staff and talent left, which is vital. And then by the time they came back, not only have they lost their touch, but other studios have come in and taken that spot, right? So CDPR, Warhorse, Larian Studios, Owlcat Games, these guys are now at the top. Pearl Abyss now, you could argue. So they've been usurped. Like Ubisoft with Assassin's Creed Shadows, they're the kings at these giant scaling open worlds and blah blah blah. And then Crimson Desert's just come out and done way better, right? It's just better. So like that's it. Okay, so they've been usurped now, right? And then you look at Bethesda with their games, right? They've been matched by CD Projekt Red with Witcher and Cyberpunk, and BioWare for the decision-making RPGs where you feel like you make your own person, you create your own story. They've been done by Baldur's Gate 3 and soon to be done by Owlcat Games. And what they decide to do, and this is the key thing, before they had a strong relationship with their fans, these studios, right? That's what they had. They had a strong relationship with their fans. People loved them, darling industries. They make the games I love. But for some reason, they changed tact at this point. So the games aren't well received, and they start attacking fans, right? So Fallout 76 drops badly. The Power Armor Edition is like just a lie, right? They lied. They said it comes with a canvas bag. It didn't. It comes with like a cheap nylon bag, right? So, but remember, they spent like $300 for this, right? They advertised online you'll get a glass Nuka-Cola bottle, like this big one. Nope, it was a bottle of whiskey in a plastic one, right? Like, this is fraudulently lying, right? Like, they're charging like that. It's like saying you'll get a blue car and then you get a bike, right? It's literally borderline scam, right? Like, they've overcharged for it. And what they decided to do was, when fans complained, they started sending emails like, sorry you don't like the bag, we're not going to do anything about it. Like, just out of touch. Then Starfield drops, and people voice their concerns, and they go online and start fighting fans, saying you're playing it wrong. You don't get it. It's fun. You can loot. You can shoot. You can fly in space. The astronauts certainly weren't bored when they went to the moon. Yeah, well, they might not have been, but but after they landed on the moon, if you said, right boys, we've got 999 more to go just like this, they might have got a bit bored 400 in. They come out, BioWare, and say their fans aren't appreciating the game properly and that they are trying to make it fail. And basically, Ubisoft the same. Like, all these studios now are just fighting their own fan base. They're making a game which is lower quality than everything else, and then they're attacking fans when they're not happy with it. So rather than look at Witcher 3 or Cyberpunk or any of these games, Crimson Desert, and think, how can I match that? How can we make BioWare like the current Larian Studios? What can we do to they don't think like that. They're just like, oh well, you guys are just, they just hate their fan base, so they argue with them, which has never worked in history.
And when AAA gaming does fail, because let's face it, there's only a few good ones left, and it's easy to blame developers, the mess that Cyberpunk 2077 was, the mess that Fallout 76 was, or many games now that get produced and just die straight away. We can look at games like Concord or Highguard that literally die pretty much day one or in a few weeks. And I'm so glad that this is happening, and you should be as well, because it's a wake-up call to these fucking corpos. But you have to remember what's happening behind the scenes, okay? This is also because of big technology companies like Nvidia that are ruining AAA gaming right now with innovative technologies like DLSS 6, which introduces AI slop into our video games. The idea of ray tracing that is now throttling frame rate and destroying performance. For what? A technology that is not even ready yet. It hasn't been maximized to its potential. Path tracing, perhaps that's worth it, but the hardware can't support it. So what happens is Nvidia gets greedy and greedy, RAM prices go through the roof, to keep gamers in a constant cycle of FOMO that we're missing out on the latest best products to run these games that aren't actually being run but are just being generated. Now this is another huge reason as to why AAA games are dying and the fall of modern day gaming is here, because companies like Nvidia, okay, that are doing shady shit, not just with gaming, pushing AI technology down everyone's throat. And you have to remember that AI cannot create, it simply generates, okay? Creation comes from human perception, it taps into philosophical ideas like Plato's forms, and it comes from the metaphysical, okay? This is how we create art, this is what art is. We need a new word for AI slop because it cannot fundamentally create. That's not what it's doing. It's just stealing data, and now companies like Nvidia are ruining games as well with these technologies. And the hype and the fixation of constantly keeping up with these technologies that are not ready yet, that have not actually kept up with hardware and prices going through the roof. This is another thing that keeps the destructive cycle of what makes AAA gaming so bad. Games like Baldur's Gate 3 were a massive shift in the AAA gaming industry, okay? Basically, they became a massive shift for the industry, for AAA games across the board. And this was a huge wake-up call. Because this won Game of the Year, because people love this game so much, and for good reason, it's absolutely goddamn fantastic. Check out my analysis on it if you're interested. But this game just shows you what human creativity can do, what good storytelling can emerge from the medium of video games. Not trying to make it something else, not trying to make it a cinematic movie, but a video game. This is why this was a huge wake-up call for the rest of the industry. Games like this, The Witcher 3, Elden Ring, that pushes gameplay mechanics first, okay? It just shows you the differences that these types of games can actually make. And this is the sad thing, is when we create a situation like this where AAA games now are so obviously trying to squeeze as much from their fan base as possible, they lose the respect, they lose that back and forth that makes, older games like Skyrim and that community so popular and still thriving to this day. When we look at what Starfield did and how they responded, the developers of that game and the people working on it, compared to a newer title like AAA game Crimson Desert and how they responded to criticism and the fact that they were easily, updating the game, they addressed the AI issues and rectified it without saying that you're wrong. This displays the massive shift between the older AAA game studios and AAA gaming and the newer studios that are now giving us hope for AAA games going forward. Responding to the fans, addressing the issues, understanding why people are against AI instead of brushing it off compared to other out-of-touch, CEOs and all this kind of stuff from the AAA gaming space. This is what we need more of. So there is hope for AAA gaming.
What they decided to do is they said, right, no problem, we apologize, we're sorry, we're going to take him out. They did, and we're going to replace him. And they did, right? That's it. And then the Blizzard, an ex-CEO of Blizzard came out and said they shouldn't have to apologize. Fans need to get used to it. They need to get used to this AI stuff. And that is, in a nutshell, the problem with AAA studios nowadays. It's not about the AI usage, right? We get it. It's going to be in games. It's about customer service. When someone complains about AI in a game, even if they're wrong, you are a company and that is your customer who's purchased your game. By saying, you know what, we're sorry you didn't like it, we're going to work to fix it. That's just customer service 101, right? Like, that's what you do. If someone complains, like, say I make a video and the audio's bad or something, they say the music's too loud, I can't hear you speaking. I don't say, oh, well, you just need to get over it. It is what it is. That's how it is. I say, like, yeah, thank you for the feedback. Because they're a customer, right? And I'm providing a service. These former heavyweights don't look at gamers like, fans anymore. They don't look at it as people they should appreciate. They don't look at them like customers that should be respected. And, they don't even look at gaming anymore as, like, the love of it, right? So you look like an indie developer. They make games for the love of it. Right? They post about it, they talk about it, they update it for free just because they love gaming. They love the game, they're so passionate about it. And for these big studios now, they just don't feel that way, I don't think. I think they generally don't care as much. They just, you look at Skyrim Anniversary Edition from Bethesda, right? Same game, nothing new added. Nothing new added a decade later. All it is they package fan-made mods onto the package and charge full price, £60, right? $60. And then Fallout 4 drops and they do the exact same thing. So, and there's no way they were going to release that Fallout 4 Anniversary Edition with no new content except for fan-made mods, add nothing in new. It didn't run correctly, right? It was a mess. They don't drop that knowing no one's going to like it, right? They knew there'd be backlash. And the fact they dropped it anyway shows you their mindset. They're like, we don't care. Sure, we're going to get some hate. People are going to hate us online, but at the end of the day, it's going to get us more money. And that is the problem. And what I think it stems from is, I think it's from investors. So investors and shareholders, they tend to dictate a game or which direction the developer's going to go in, right? So Warhorse Studios, who made Kingdom Come Deliverance, they went to all the major publishers, because the director at Warhorse Studios is Daniel Vavra, right? And he worked on Mafia 1 and Mafia 2. And he wanted to make Kingdom Come Deliverance, right? And he went to all these major publishers and funders and backers, and they all said no. They said, no, it won't sell. Nobody wants this. Nobody wants this game. It's boring. Nobody wants realistic combat and blah, blah, blah. And in the end, he had to go online and ask for funding from fans. Like, they had to go and, like, support, ask for money from people like me. And then they got it because people apparently did want the game. And then that got them enough to then go to a funder who wasn't involved in gaming, but he could look at those stats, and they finished funding it. The publishers and the funders didn't want to back it. So this game shouldn't exist, but it does, and we love it. Expedition 33, former Ubisoft staff, they didn't like the direction they were going with these bloated open worlds full of repetitive objectives, copy-paste quests, and reused assets. Right, so what's the future? So right now, studios who put their product first, care about the game quality over everything, and constantly update it for free. They care about their customers, they care about the fans, and just making the best game possible. They minimize microtransactions, they minimize AI, they literally just make something that the fans want. I mean, we're seeing it already, like, Obsidian, they went through it. Ubisoft, every game they're dropping right now isn't doing well. And really, it's up to the studios now, these Ubisofts, Bethesda's, BioWare's. If they want to get back to being at the top, they got to change direction and start caring about their fans again. Like, they have to start caring about the product, making the best game possible, and genuinely listening to fan feedback. Right now, they treat them like cash cows, they pepper the games with microtransactions, and if a customer pipes up, they just say, you're wrong. And that's just not good enough. And people are turning away from these games, and they're not innovating either. I'll give you an example, right? With a studio, you cannot replace talent, right? You can replace the name, you can replace many staff members, but talent is unique talent is hard to find. Bethesda had Ken Rolston, Julian LeFay, Ted Peterson, just general talent, right? And they took those people out and they never replaced them. No one has ever walked through the door at Bethesda and taken that spot and done as good a job. No one, right? Like, Ken Rolston was the one who made the factions and like the storylines of the factions in Oblivion. The Dark Brotherhood, Thieves Guild, the best stuff. That was him. He created the framework for it, and then people like Emil Pagliarulo could then work off of that. They have to go back to when they had talent in the studio and use that pre-made work to push it through. Like, they can't come up with a good story anymore. They have to rely on it. I mean, Bethesda's the same. They didn't come up with Elder Scrolls. Julian LeFay and Ted Peterson did. AAA studios of old have begun valuing shareholders more than customers, profit more than quality, and that's just sort of the direction they've gone. And yeah, maybe Fallout 76 made a load of money. I know Elder Scrolls Online made a lot of money, but these other studios are coming in and taking their spot. So my thoughts are this: I think the future of gaming will go to studios who put customers first, quality first, and look after their fan base, and it will come via the established ones now and the indie studios, the studios who are coming up from the ground up. That's my take. And I think studios like Bethesda, Ubisoft, BioWare, I think they're in last chance territory. I think they're all one bad release away from making a mistake, from struggling to get by.
So what we now have with modern games, modern day gaming, and AAA games is a weird shift in the culture, okay? A divide between the older studios, the people that are still holding on to money equals everything, that, we have to constantly push these technologies further and further, even if it means making games that can flop, that, have so much money put into them that they can't take creative risks anymore, that, that makes or breaks development teams, that we have literally seen happen over the last, couple of years. So many developers and new studios get completely shut down to maximize profit, to save on money. The same thing with replacing people working in the industry with AI. So the only way to address this, the future of gaming, and I'm glad you said this, AVV, because I feel exactly the same way, and that is we need to correct and change how we think about AAA releases. We need to support teams and developers like that of Capcom that are putting out interesting new ideas with AAA budget and polish behind them, but games that don't take a decade plus to be made. Bethesda at this point now think they're Rockstar levels, and they can just take 20 plus years on the Elder Scrolls 6. The future of gaming and the future of AAA games is finally the gamers coming together, and this is something that's so beautiful about YouTube and our channels, my channel and AVV's channel, is we can create a community and a movement to stop this kind of bullshit, to look at games fundamentally for what they are at a deeper level, art and appreciate them for what they are supposed to be, the joy that they bring us, instead of feeling like a product that takes from us. We don't want gaming to turn into some kind of horrible form of social media where we are in fact the product instead of the game being the product that we paid for. So to me, that is what the future of gaming looks like with AAA games. It's creative teams working at a smaller scale on something that they actually believe. Then they go out and find investment, fundraising for it. This is the only way AAA gaming can survive, and I'm interested to see what you guys think down below in the comments, the wise ones and the new audience members from AVV. In the end, to me, it does come down to human intent, okay? This is what matters behind any form of art. It matters the people that you have working for you. Like AVV said, you know, we are now missing a lot of talent from these studios because they think everything is replaceable. But you can't replace creativity. You can't replace new ideas to, you know, test out new boundaries, new gameplay mechanics. And then of course, it is thanks to the modders, the people who keep these games alive that I'm also a part of, that, you know, actually invest in the world and the lore of these universes. It's indie teams that are passionate about testing out new ideas. We need to support gaming in a different way now, and we need to start only focusing on AAA games that understand this vision. So there you go. Thank you so much for watching this video, my wise ones and the new wise ones coming from AVV. And I do hope that you check out his channel as well. Shout out to AVV, go check out his content. He produces amazing content and he's pushing way above his weight class. And he just does fantastic stuff, so go support him as well. Give this video a like. Please let us know your thoughts down below in the comments of AAA gaming, modern day video games, and the downfall of modern gaming, and what we can do to correct it. Do you agree with us or do you disagree? Let us know, and I'll be seeing you in the next video.